Welcome to Lento English. Ready to level up your English? Here we learn through stories, slow, clear, and fun. Listen, relax, and enjoy the journey.
1. Introduction. A big problem is starting between two important countries, Japan and China. These nations are neighbors in Asia. The problem is about security and power in the region. It is a new, difficult situation for both governments. This event shows how quickly international relations can become tense. The trouble began because of words from Japan's leader, Takaichi. She is the Prime Minister. She recently spoke in Japan's parliament, which is the main place for making laws. She spoke about Taiwan. Taiwan is an island that China says belongs to them. Many countries watch the situation around Taiwan very closely. The leader of Japan said something very strong. She suggested that Japan's army might need to help if China started a military attack on Taiwan. This is a serious idea because Japan usually only defends its own land. She used special legal words to describe this potential danger. She called the possible conflict a survival-threatening situation. These words are very important for the Japanese military. Japan's army is called the Self-Defense Forces. Normally, they only defend Japan, but if a situation is officially called survival-threatening, the army can help a friend like the United States. This is called collective self-defense. Prime Minister Takaichi suggested that defending American ships near Taiwan could become necessary for Japan's own safety. When Takaichi said this, China became very angry. China thinks that the future of Taiwan is its own business. China does not want any other country to talk about Taiwan's future or offer military help. China immediately called the Japanese leaders' words an interference in their internal affairs. This statement made the relationship between Japan and China much colder. China quickly gave a strong answer to Japan. They called the Japanese ambassador to a meeting. This is a diplomatic action used when a country is very unhappy. China also told its people to be careful about traveling to Japan. Newspapers in China wrote strong warnings. They said Japan would face big problems if it tried to interfere with Taiwan. This event is the start of a difficult time. It is a lesson about how much a leader's words matter. It shows that even one statement can cause big problems between two powerful nations. The tension is high and both sides must be careful now. The world is watching to see what happens next between the two countries. 2. The important words. Prime Minister Takaichi spoke during a meeting in the Japanese parliament. She was asked a question about the possibility of a serious conflict involving Taiwan. Takaichi gave a very serious answer. She explained that if China used its military power against Taiwan, it could create a major danger for Japan. She used a specific phrase that is important in Japanese law, survival-threatening situation. These three words are not used often. They are official legal words that define when Japan's army can take action. Japan's military is officially named the Self-Defense Forces. For many years, the Self-Defense Forces were only allowed to protect Japan itself. They could not easily fight in conflicts far away. However, the security laws permit them to act when a situation is truly survival-threatening. This means if the danger is so great that Japan's existence is at risk, the military can intervene. This action is known as collective self-defense. This means Japan can use its military to help an important friend who is under attack. Japan's most important friend and ally is the United States. Takaichi explained exactly what she meant. She said that if the United States sent warships to defend Taiwan and those U.S. ships were attacked by China, Japan might need to help. An attack on a U.S. ship defending Taiwan could be seen as the survival-threatening situation required by law. This explanation showed that Japan was thinking about using its army far from its own borders. It meant Japan was prepared to support the U.S. military in a potential conflict. Her statement suggested a major change in Japan's approach to regional security. The government was linking the security of Taiwan directly to its own national safety. The Prime Minister's firm position made it clear that Tokyo would not stay quiet if tensions increased in the area. These specific, legal words signaled a new level of commitment. Using this strong language immediately caused a powerful reaction from neighboring countries. 3. China's strong answer. China was listening closely to the words from Japan. When Japan's leader spoke about Taiwan, Beijing became extremely angry. China quickly called the remarks a crude interference. They said Japan was crudely interfering in China's internal affairs. China views Taiwan as part of its own territory. Therefore, any comment about military action there is seen as a direct attack on China's right to govern itself. China warned Japan that it must bear all consequences for the leader's statements. China acted first in diplomacy. The government called Japan's ambassador for a meeting in Beijing. A high-ranking Chinese official met with the ambassador. This official told the ambassador that the Japanese leader's words were extremely wrong and dangerous. China gave a strong protest to the Japanese government. China demanded that the Japanese leader take back her statements. They said the words were unacceptable. China also used economic pressure against Japan. Beijing issued a travel advisory. They told their citizens not to visit Japan. This move caused worry for many businesses in Japan. Chinese tourists are very important for Japan's economy. They represent the largest share of foreign visitors who come to the country. This warning showed that China could hurt Japan financially if the conflict grew larger. Chinese state media and the military also gave serious warnings. The People's Daily, which is the official newspaper of the Communist Party, wrote a strong article. It accused the Japanese leader of making a clear military threat toward China. The newspaper said Japan was acting very aggressively. China's defense ministry gave a separate and very serious warning. They said that Japan would pay a heavy price if it tried to get involved in the Taiwan issue. The defense ministry made it clear that any military intervention from Japan would lead to bad outcomes. China sees the Taiwan issue as the most important of all its interests. They call it the core of China's core interests. These actions showed that China was treating the situation as a major conflict. The diplomatic meeting, the travel warning, and the military threats all increased the tension. China was making sure Japan understood the seriousness of the situation. The relationship between the two countries was quickly becoming very difficult. China's answer was strong and severe across diplomatic, economic, and military areas. 4. A problem at home. The problem started with words spoken in Japan's parliament. These words angered China, but they also created trouble inside Japan. Not every leader in Japan agreed with Prime Minister Takaichi. Many politicians worried about her strong statement. They feared her words would make the situation with China much worse. Leaders from the opposition parties spoke strongly against the Prime Minister. They said her comments were rash. This means she spoke too fast and did not think carefully. They also called her words reckless. They warned that she had put the relationship between the two large countries in a very difficult situation. One important critic was Yoshihiko Noda. He is a former prime minister and leads the main opposition party. Noda said that Takaichi had said too much in public. He reminded the government that the prime minister is the commander of the country's self-defense forces. Noda explained that a leader in this position must not speak carelessly about military action or potential war. This carefulness is an unwritten rule for Japanese leaders. Another opposition politician, Satoshi Honjo, also spoke out. Honjo believed that Takaichi did not fully understand the security laws of Japan. He suggested that the Prime Minister did not understand the legal details of using the power of collective self-defense. This power can only be used in a survival-threatening situation. Honjo also noted that Takaichi failed to understand how important Taiwan is to China. China calls the Taiwan issue its most important interest. Interfering in this issue was seen as a big mistake by the opposition. They worried that Japan was interfering in a problem that was not its own. They thought Japan should not get involved in the conflict between China and Taiwan. Even people inside Takaichi's own political party showed concern. A senior lawmaker in the ruling party, Norihisa Tamura, spoke about the comments on television. He said that the Prime Minister knew she had not explained her words well enough. Tamura suggested that Takaichi would stop making such specific, military-focused remarks in the future. This internal criticism showed that the Prime Minister was under great pressure at home. The government needed to manage the political damage quickly. While China demanded that Takaichi take back her statement, Japanese politicians were also telling her to be more careful. The diplomatic problem quickly became a serious political problem inside Japan. This domestic disagreement added much complexity to the international tension. 5. Trying to make peace. The conflict between Japan and China had become very serious. Japan's government knew they needed to act quickly. They did not want the anger to grow even bigger. The government decided that the best way forward was to try and make peace using diplomacy. They planned a special mission to calm the situation down. Japan chose a senior diplomat for this important task. His name was Masaki Kanai. Mr. Kanai was sent to Beijing, the capital city of China. This trip was difficult, but his mission was clear. He needed to speak directly to high-level officials in China's government. He had two main goals during his visit. The first goal was to explain Japan's actual policy. Prime Minister Takaichi had used powerful words about a possible conflict near Taiwan. China thought these words meant Japan had changed its defense strategy. Mr. Kanai needed to correct this misunderstanding. He had to tell China that the Prime Minister's comments did not mean Japan's official security policy was new. He explained that the government's position had been the same for a long time. The diplomat needed to show China that Japan was not preparing for war or planning new actions. He wanted China to see that the basic defense rules had not changed at all. The second goal of the trip was to ask China to stop making the problem worse. China had already taken strong actions. They had called Japan's ambassador for a serious talk. They had also warned their citizens not to travel to Japan. These actions hurt the relationship. Mr. Kanai needed to urge China to avoid further steps that could damage the country's ties. He asked China to stop increasing the tension and to step back from the conflict. Making peace was challenging because China strongly demanded that Prime Minister Takaichi must take back her words. Mr. Kanai's job was to fix the damage caused by the comments, even though the Prime Minister had not yet agreed to retract them. This meant the diplomat had to be very careful and choose his words wisely when talking in Beijing. The success of this diplomatic mission was important for future trade and travel between the two nations. Mr. Kanai worked hard to show that Japan wanted calmness, not more fighting. Everyone waited to see if China would accept the message from Tokyo. 6. A leader stands firm. The problem between Japan and China was serious. China was very angry about the Prime Minister's words. China wanted Prime Minister Sani Takaichi to take back what she said. Taking back words is called retraction. A Chinese spokesperson clearly demanded that Takaichi cancel her statements. They called her words extremely wrong and dangerous. Many people worried that if she did not take them back, the entire situation would get much worse. China warned that Japan would have to face serious consequences if she did not change her mind. However, Prime Minister Takaichi decided not to change her position. She refused to retract her statement. This was a very strong decision for a leader to make during a crisis. She believed her words were correct and important for Japan's future security. She explained her reason to the public and to other politicians. She said that what she spoke in Parliament was the same as Japan's long-time official policy. She maintained that her statement matched the government's long-held position on security arrangements. Even some politicians inside Japan asked her to be careful. Opposition leaders criticized her comments. They said her words were too quick and reckless, warning that she was putting the relationship with China in a difficult place. They wanted her to calm the rising tensions. But Takaichi stood firm. She did not apologize or say she was wrong. She maintained her position. She defended the idea that a military attack near Taiwan could quickly become a survival-threatening situation for Japan. Because the Prime Minister refused to take back her words, the diplomatic situation became much more complicated. China was waiting for her reaction, and now they had a firm refusal. Since she refused the demand, China might increase its strong warnings and actions. The high tension did not go away. Takaichi's firm stance meant that the attempt to make peace would be harder. The special diplomat sent to Beijing now faced a much more difficult task. The relationship between the two powerful countries remained tense and uncertain. 7. More angry words. The diplomatic trouble between Japan and China grew worse quickly. The main problem was still the words of Prime Minister Sani Takaichi. She refused to change her statement about Taiwan. The tension was already high because of her refusal. Then a new, very serious conflict started. This new conflict was personal and directly targeted the leader of Japan. A high Chinese official worked in Japan. He was the consul general in the city of Osaka. His name was Zhu Jian. This official used social media to speak about the Japanese leader. What he wrote online was shocking to many people in Japan and around the world. The official wrote that the Prime Minister's dirty neck must be cut off. He wrote this shocking statement because Takaichi spoke about Japan's possible military help for Taiwan. The post was seen as encouraging great physical violence against a head of government. People noted that this was not the polite behavior expected from a high-level diplomat who worked in a foreign country. Japanese politicians became very angry when they read the post. They said the words were dangerous and completely wrong. A senior lawmaker in Japan, Norihisa Tamura, spoke about the official's post on television. Tamura said the message was highly inappropriate. He said the message encouraged terrorism. This was a very serious charge against an official from another country working in Japan. Many Japanese lawmakers demanded immediate action from the government. They belonged to the ruling party and wanted the cabinet to take a firm position against the threat. They strongly wanted the government to make the Chinese official leave Japan immediately. This action is called expulsion, and it is a move used when diplomatic relations are broken. If Zhu Jian was expelled, it would make the relationship between the two powerful countries much, much worse. This new argument added another difficult layer to the already bad situation. The argument was no longer just about military rules or foreign policy agreements. It was now about diplomatic respect, personal threats, and encouraging violence. It showed that the anger on the Chinese side was increasing rapidly. Lawmaker Tamura said that the Chinese government must quickly judge the official's actions. He said that Beijing's response to this threat was key to the future relationship. If the Chinese government did nothing about their officials' angry words, Japan would be forced to take strong steps. Japan would have to respond to protect its leaders and show strength. The country waited for Beijing to decide if it supported the official's dangerous message. The tension was now incredibly high because of these angry words. 8. What happens next? The conflict between Japan and China did not end quickly. The situation remained difficult and unsolved. Prime Minister Sani Takaichi refused to take back her words. She said her statement matched the government's official security position. China's government continued to react with great anger to her comments. Japan tried hard to calm the situation. They sent a senior diplomat, Masaki Kanai, to Beijing. His job was to explain Japan's real policy. He needed to tell China that Japan did not change its official plans. However, China demanded that Takaichi must retract her statements. China's vice foreign minister called Takaichi's remarks extremely wrong and dangerous. The strong protests did not stop. The tension hurt the relationship in many ways. One big problem was travel and the economy. China issued a travel warning. It told its citizens to avoid visiting Japan. This was a serious issue for Japan. Chinese tourists are the largest group of foreign visitors. Many businesses in Japan that rely on tourism started to worry about losing money. Inside Japan, some politicians criticized the prime minister. They worried that the comments were rash and reckless. They said the relationship with China was now very difficult. They believed the prime minister should be more careful with her words, especially because she is the commander-in-chief of Japan's self-defense forces. Also, China's military gave strong warnings. The official newspaper of the Communist Party accused Takaichi of making an overt military threat. The Defense Ministry warned that Japan would pay a heavy price if it tried to intervene in a Taiwan conflict. These warnings made the situation more serious. Another problem appeared on social media. A Chinese official in Osaka wrote very strong words about Takaichi. Japanese lawmakers became very angry about this online post. They said the post was inappropriate and encouraged violence. They asked the government to respond firmly to this new issue. Some even suggested that the official should leave Japan. The Chinese government needed to decide how to judge this incident. The relationship between the two large countries remained in a difficult place. The diplomatic talks were strained. The travel warning created economic pressure. The strong words from both sides continued. The future was uncertain. Would Takaichi change her mind? Would China remove the travel advisory? The story shows that even a few words from a leader can create a major international problem. The lesson of careful diplomacy was still being learned by everyone involved. The conflict was not finished.